Let's speak to our correspondent Iolo who is in Ankara for us. Iolo, there's been more sporadic fighting overnight. What's the latest?
Well, the reports were around the second airport in Istanbul, Sabiha Gökçen, and there were a group of soldiers, according to the reports, that were trying to flee the country. These reports came out overnight, and we're not entirely sure of what happened, whether these group of soldiers, who may have been part of the attempted coup on Friday, were trying to flee the country, were trying to leave Turkey. There was a clash. Some reports say there was some shooting. We're not entirely sure about that. But anyway, there was a clash, and these soldiers were caught while they were trying to leave the airport. I've seen pictures as well of this group. They were not dressed in army fatigues. They were dressed in plain clothes, and they were trying to leave the country, obviously, without being picked up.
And many more people arrested. They continue to be arrested. What is the latest on that?
Well, that figure of 6,000 people which have been detained since Friday, and an important development overnight. The military attaché for Turkey in Kuwait has been caught. He's been arrested, and he was arrested by the Saudi Arabian authorities in Saudi Arabia. So it shows the extent of what the government and the authorities now are looking at in terms of trying to use the government's phrase, to root out the people which may have been involved in the attempted coup on Friday. So that attaché is a senior official who is also being arrested. And there's a whole host of other senior officials, senior generals, senior army officers which are being detained and arrested. And this is going to be a very big process for the judicial process here in Turkey, because to process 6,000 people, to interview them, for the police to interview them, to interrogate them, the prosecutors to talk to them, and then put them up in court, this will be a very long process. And it brings in another question, really, for the government. What are they going to do to fill in the posts which are now empty, because all these different people, whether they are in political circles, in military circles, or indeed in government circles, who is going to do their job while these people are being detained?
Now, there have been questions raised about bringing in the death penalty. The Prime Minister has been speaking in Ankara. Do we have any indication where the government stands on that?
I think it was clear here in Ankara last night when the Prime Minister was addressing a large crowd in the middle of the city, and also what we've seen in Izmir, in Istanbul, and in other gatherings, that there is a popular feeling, you could argue, amongst a lot of people, whether these are ordinary citizens or whether indeed these are people with political affiliations. But a lot of people are asking for the death penalty. And we had the Prime Minister last night, also the President a few days ago, both of them saying, we hear you. We hear what you're actually saying in terms of trying to reinstate the death penalty. Now, this will be a very, very significant debate, because the death penalty has not been in motion here in Turkey for quite a long time, and that is the case in many, many other democratic countries as well. So for Turkey to be debating this, for the government to be debating, and the cabinet is meeting here in a few hours' time, we're not sure whether they will be debating that specifically, but the more we hear people shouting for the death penalty to be reinstated, the more pressure there'll be on the politicians and on the government and on the authorities to debate it, and that will be quite a significant change if it's reinstated.
Okay, Iolo, good to speak to you. Iolo for us there in Ankara.